Over the last 10 years and more, I've been working in Sketchbooks as a space to experiment, to store my ideas and develop my voice as an artist. And today in this video, we're going to be going through sketchbooks spanning that 10-year time frame. In fact, this pile right over here, to open them up, to take a look at the honest, raw, messy development and growth that happens over this long time frame. The sketchbooks I'll be showing you today, I've picked because they span a wide variety of purposes, different roles, different focuses. Some are observational, some are experimentational, some are just about reconnecting to the love of making things for process's sake. As we go through these pages, I'll be talking about how and why sketchbooks matter to my own art practice, and how they have become the unintentional thread which has held my growth together. If you leave this video with any message at all, I really hope that it is you don't need to know why you're doing something, you don't need to know where it's going to take you. You just need to listen to your curiosity and let it take you where you're meant to be going. Before we jump into this mammoth sketchbook tour, my name is Orla, I'm an artist, and I'm making videos here on YouTube to document my own creative process, as well as share ideas to help you experiment and make more time and space for play. Alright, let's get into it. We're going to start way back in time, 10 years ago, and work chronologically up till the present day.
Side by side we sway there in all the colors.
We are starting back in time. We have gone back to 2014 to 2015. And at this point in time, I was studying screen printed textiles at Edinburgh College of Art. I should preface this by saying you do not need to go to art school to be an artist, to work in sketchbooks, to make anything. That's just part of my story for context of where I was. And I've selected these sketchbooks because they are a great example of how, at the time, I was using sketchbooks to store projects in. So each of these books are about specific projects, specific studies. Whereas as we go through this video, you'll see the shift from an entire project to a whole concoction of different ideas and observations. I'm so glad I kept these early sketchbooks because I'm able to spot so many threads which I still explore today in my work. Even though my art looks very different, to me at least, I'm able to spot the things which I was interested in, the things I was doing, you know, those early starting points, many of which I still do in various ways today. So I think sketchbooks are amazing places to gather your early interests, or just your general interests, and start to figure out what you love and what you love to make work about. For me, I was always wanting to explore nature, to explore a landscape, really because it could let me combine all of my favourite hobbies together. I loved getting outside, I loved adventuring with friends, with my family. I loved just the process of going for a walk and noticing the little details in nature. And this sketchbook was a really good exploration, or demonstration rather, of looking really closely at the rocks that I could find. So just looking really closely at anything and then combining that with a wider view of the landscape, which is really nicely demonstrated here, capturing a sketch from this walk and then looking closely at the textures I could find there too, as a way to document my trips outside and turn that into fuel for my art. What I think is so cool about sketchbooks and making art in general is that you can make anything interesting. Suddenly, like, you could make an entire book just filling it on different ways to look at a pebble on the ground. Like, there are so many different ways to get excited about the world, and that's really what one of the main life lessons I think have been as a kind of byproduct of making and working in sketchbooks. It's not even really the art that's the most important bit, it's like the way that it lets you see the world more creatively and lets you appreciate the little things. Being able to look at anything and find it interesting visually from a different perspective I'm so thankful that that's what it's given me, to be honest. And it's definitely made my life a million times better because of it. So this project I'm showing you right here is all about the process, the formation of a geode, looking at the different stages that go into making a geode. Now, I couldn't remember and tell you what those are now, but I remember researching at the time, getting to go to the science department and learn about this and look at lots of beautiful slides of geodes. This is so funny. So I still make this scratchy mark today, and I still love a blue oil pastel sat on top, really thick, on top of other things. And that is probably one of the most important reasons to keep a sketchbook. You don't know why or what you like until you give it a go, you store it away, and then you look back at it in a few years. And the art itself doesn't need to be good. My use of colour here was really not developed yet. But there are still so many little nuggets of information stored in these pages that would later develop and through practice, become important ways that I work now. I've always loved different ways of working, making lino prints, working digitally, making scans, editing things. The main reason I wanted to show you these really early sketchbooks was because you can't necessarily see your own style at the time. Other people can see it much more easily than I think we can. But if you keep your sketchbooks for long enough, you'll begin to notice all of these things that you still do all these years later. And I think that can give you a lot of confidence that you have things which are yours, that build towards your own artistic voice, which is, I think, really great, because I think most people anyway are looking for that in their art. If you're watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, I do need to make more time for my sketchbooks, then I'd love to invite you to check out the rest of my YouTube channel. There are so many videos you can watch on here totally for free. If you hit the bell icon down below, you'll get a wee reminder of when my videos go live. And if you're looking for even more tips and tricks, you can subscribe to my blog, which is run over on Substack. Again, that's totally for free, and that'll send the videos I create every other Thursday straight to your inbox, so you won't miss anything. If you're thinking, that's all great, but I'd really like to try out some live workshops or meet other like-minded people face to face, I'd love to invite you to check out our community and our art club, the Outdoor Sketchbook Collective. It is the best thing I think I have ever made, hosting a space for so many like-minded people to get together and celebrate all the good things in life. We start out with Tips Jar, which is a great way to support my YouTube channel. And it also gets you access to a monthly podcast I create, as well as our bustling community chats, where you can share your work and ask each other questions. If you're looking for a little more insight into my creative practice and approach to creating, I make a monthly studio guide PDF. That's for our studio guide tier, and that is going to help fuel your sketchbook practice and get you experimenting a little bit more. You also get access in this tier to our amazing monthly co-working calls, which is an hour and a half to get together, have a chat, and work on our own things in good company. It's basically like sharing a studio with other people. I personally always leave those calls feeling much more energized, inspired, and also connected to other artists too, which is so nice when you're working solo and creating solo all the time. If you're looking for even more community and live call time, you'll love our Studio Play tier. That is our chance to get together on Zoom, where I run new monthly live workshops. They happen twice a month, so they'll hopefully fit the time zone that you're in. And when you're part of Studio Play, you also get access to an exclusive video tutorial. As its namesake, Studio Play is all about making time for play, really letting loose and experimenting. So if you're feeling like you need to have a creative stretch, to find your creative voice and to allow yourself to try new things, then that will be a really great one to take part in. The last tier is a new addition to the platform, which is called Beyond the Studio. This tier is really for anyone looking to fuel new creative projects and ventures, the kinds of experiments which I might not be able to take risks on otherwise. Your support there goes towards fueling new developments, as well as investing in and expanding on the quality of the videos, the teaching that I can offer. As a thank you for supporting my work beyond the studio, I'll be creating an exclusive quarterly gift designed just for you, which reflect these new adventures. Here we have fast forwarded to around 2021. Yeah, this first book is 2021 to 2022. And I really wanted to show you these sketchbooks because they are a great example of a time where we're always still figuring it out. But at this moment in time, I had so many different interests and I felt a little bit lost, unsure of how all of these interests could pull together. And I felt very strongly in this time, I remember, that I really wanted everything to pull together and have one really me way of working. And this is a great documentation of me figuring it out, allowing myself to explore all of the interests, all of the processes, all of the materials, to make a ton of mistakes and just have a safe space to play. So far we've spanned a love of working on location. These early ones were made outside in the freezing 1st of January snow, working with soft pastels outside, listening to sounds I could hear and translating those into drawings, going back and forth between abstract ways of working and capturing what I could see. Also capturing what I could feel, trying to explore how colour and feelings are connected. And if you watch my videos, the ones I've made recently of my art practice, and if you're a part of my Patreon, my art club there, all of these things are still themes which we now explore together today and I get to share with you, which is so enriching. And it's so nice to see all of these things, being explored in these early stages. Figuring out what materials, I don't love a Sennelier oil pastel, but I do love now a Neocolor oil pastel. So sketchbooks are these places to figure out what you like, what you don't like. I've written in here, I love taking notes to myself in sketchbooks, and this reads, "This would be so cool as a repeat print." And I still think past me was right. Would this not look really funky on some trousers or a jacket? Personally, I would love that. Chopping up old work and seeing how we can abstract things that way. Sketching compositional ideas. Looking really closely at the landscape to be able to abstract it. At this time, I had no idea how these things would come together, where I was going with it. I just knew that I wanted to explore these ideas, and somehow it would all come together. Another way I use sketchbooks is, in contrast to that last one, exploring lots of different materials, is to just dedicate it to one thing. And this sketchbook is filled with incredibly simple, on-location line drawings. Now, these might not be the most interesting things to look at from an outside perspective until I tell you a little bit more about why I was making these. So, these were all made on location, and this was a way for me to document the trips I would go on with my partner, and still do, around Scotland. So these were all made on location, and I would have, only a few minutes. You know what it's like if you're out drawing with friends or family, you don't have long to capture an idea. And so that's what this was. This was going on my summer holidays and trying to take notes of the landscape, the things I would notice along the way, writing in colour notes for myself, and really only using graphite. At the time, I remember really not knowing how to use line in my work, so there was this real disconnect between my sketchbooks and my painting practice. But I knew that it was important for me to get outside as part of the process, to document what I could see, and somehow pull that into the work. And the reason I'm showing you this sketchbook is that it demonstrates maybe a lack of knowledge at the time. I didn't know how to take notes in the landscape. And of course that is an ongoing process. But now I can definitely say that I have a much stronger understanding of what I need, the information that I need to gather when I'm outside to be able to inspire a painting later on. Or even just the information I need to have in a sketch, whether that's done outside or inside, to be able to make abstract work or representational work. Which is so great to see, to be able to see that development and to see how my use of sketchbooks has developed. Still looking at things far away and looking up close. The other thing I wanted to mention in relation to this sketchbook is that, well, I'm such a big believer in making things as simple as you possibly can when you're learning. And this is a good example of how I was doing exactly that. Just focusing on line to try and sketch what I could see and not give myself anything else to worry about. I really think when I'm overloaded, I don't capture anything interesting at all. Whereas in all of these sketches, sure, I might not have all of the information I would want now to be able to develop a painting, but at least the line work is really clear. I was learning what kind of line I liked in this process of doing so many fast sketches. And that in itself was really valuable and is really valuable for me to have now. I'd love nothing more than to go back to these places, these landscapes, and see see what I would create in response to them. So maybe that's something I need to set out for the year ahead. Welcome to winter of 2024. I have an entire YouTube video, an entire sketchbook tour dedicated to all of the sketchbooks I completed in 1 year of development, bar this one apparently. I must have made this one after. And this is another example of exploring so many different things in the 1 year. I remember in this year really not knowing why I wanted to do things. I just knew that I wanted to document my interests, like graphic design. These are the logos for the outdoor equipment that my parents used when we were kids, so lots of nostalgia there. To, of course, landscapes, to the abstracts and mark making and my love for texture. So yeah, really not knowing why, but just knowing that I needed to explore these things, and that in time these ideas would percolate and filter through to my work. I think because my sketchbooks they're almost like a brain dump or a documentation of the experience of making things, if that makes sense. It's more about the process of just doing it, of looking, of storing ideas. That approach, I think, really frees me up to take the pressure off. It's not about making finished work. And because of that, my sketchbooks feel like such a free place to be. I love a bit of cheese, I'm not gonna lie. Make art from the heart. There we go, boom. These were some embroidery patch ideas I made for my Patreon Outdoor Sketchbook Collective, and I still really want to make some embroidery patches for my art club. I think that would be so cool to have, to be able to stitch onto our backpacks that we take out sketching with us. That would be so nice to have. I said this in my last sketchbook tour, and I will say it again because it is still true, that I find it so exciting looking at these sketchbooks again. It gives me like creative energy or fuel when I see contrasting things together. This bird study, like in comparison to this thing I was looking at, like I'm automatically thinking when I go from page to page, like, oh, maybe these new colors could like sit together, or maybe I'm able to spot like an existing interest in the way that I make a line. It happens here, it happens in here. Like I'm able to spot all of these interests. The fact that I love like a watery mark and it's coming through here. This sparks more ideas for me. I'm able to go, okay, what would happen if I brought in a little bit more of this over here into this drawing for a new sketch? I just find it gives me more ideas by having everything mishmashed together, is what I'm trying to say. Drawing from moving video. This was drawing a squirrel as it was running around, getting some food. And that's such a great thing to do, to get familiar with the shape of things. Even if the initial sketches, it doesn't look like anything apart from a scribbly mess. When you then slow down and either work with a slower video or stop the video, it really helps you to get a hang of the shapes of things, of how things move. And like I was mentioning earlier, sparking ideas, that could be a really interesting background to then pull this little guy on top of. Like that could be fun as another experiment to try. So everything kind of feeds into the next experiment. And in that way, I think the work evolves quite naturally. So welcome to 2025. These sketchbooks are the ones I've been working in this year. We've got a lovely pith sketchbook, which I'll definitely be buying again because it's such a nice sketchbook to work in. And I love the pocket-sized nature of this. This is one I was working on in the early spring, just taking it out to sketch all the things that was growing on my daily walks. This was a good example of sketching just for the process, for the joy of getting outside, of looking at things, of noticing, and just, enjoying the actual process of doing it. Whereas in this sketchbook, and this is the fanciest sketchbook I've ever bought myself, this is an Etcher sketchbook, a watercolour one. And whereas in this sketchbook, it was much more about focus, study, going slower with it, being much more considered. And that is in part because of the price of the sketchbook. I definitely do, in retrospect, prefer a cheap and cheerful sketchbook because it really lets me be free. Whereas in this sketchbook, I really felt at the time like I had to be very considered with my ideas and, almost like treat each page like I was making a painting. So this is a good example, I suppose, of development stage work. And actually looking at it, it feels very inspiring for me to look at this now, to get ideas for future work. But I definitely remember at the time feeling much more precious about these pages. Like they needed to say something or be something. This was a spread that I made, this page and this page, to create textures to make a notebook design with. I'll pop that on screen so you can see what that looks like. But what made me laugh about this when I was prepping for this video and looking through my sketchbooks were just how many of these marks and textures I was making in my earlier sketchbooks back in the day. So this mark right here, this loopy line, I love to make this mark just because it feels good. And look at this drawing, it's just like pretty much the same mark way of indicating the cloud filling in. It's still existing in how I paint today and how I sketch today. So you just don't know. I think in the moment you don't know what marks are yours until you are 5 years, 10 years, even just like a few months down the line, you can look back at older work and go, I'm still doing that. That's a good indication. A little marker of voice coming through. Some on location, this is a page I made in Poland. Back in the studio in Poland. It rained loads this day and made it all spread around the page. I made this outside Stirling Castle, looking out to the amazing view that you get up there. This is in Germany. And some sketches of Edinburgh. So this little sketchbook, I've gone into it in great depth over on my Patreon. I have another one, a little pocket-sized one, which I was working in this year. So if you'd like to get really in-depth chat around how I'm using sketchbooks to actually springboard into my paintings, how they kind of connect. If you're looking for more sketchbook chats, it's over there basically, and you can check it out. If you're looking for more of an explanation of what I was thinking, why I've done things, what I like and what I don't like. If you're ever worried about changing up your materials in case that changes your style, or if you're just worried about trying something new in case it puts you out into the big wide unknown, I would say just go for it. Your style isn't defined by the materials that you use. Sure, it can be in part, but I think it's much more down to how you use them, how you see the world, what you notice. And you've just got to trust the process that your perspective, the way that you move your body, the way that you notice things, that's going to shine through to really showcase your creative voice, I suppose. I don't think it needs to be more complicated than that. So if you're holding yourself back from experimentation because you're scared it's going to change the work you make, get a sketchbook, a little cheap one like this, and make a little space for yourself to play in private. You don't need to show anybody, and it can just be a space for you to figure out what you like. I wanted to leave you with the message I shared at the beginning. There is no right way to use a sketchbook. There is no one way to use a sketchbook. And most importantly, to trust your guts, follow your curiosity, and more than likely you'll be led in unexpected places, exciting places, which you could never have predicted in your art. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this one, I'd really appreciate it if you can share it with a friend, hit the like button, or leave me with a little comment below if it sparked any new ideas. All of that good stuff really helps to share this video wider with more people who might get something out of it too. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you outside.